It is now my pleasure to turn today's program over to Dewey Norwood. Please go ahead.
Hey, Matthew, thank you very much for that kind introduction, and certainly looking forward to working with you and with Kathy and the Entrado team here for our record-setting event all about Wells Fargo careers and internships. I want to greet everyone today from the beautiful Queen City of the South, Charlotte, North Carolina. Dewey Norwood, very fortunate to be a 22-year veteran of our firm and honored to be one of the folks being able to co-collaborate with this wonderful program here for today. Here's what I can submit to you all. We've got a ton of content, and we've got 90 minutes to go through all of it, but this content only can be impactful if you all that have dialed in, that have joined us today, make this a conversation. We want to make this a dialogue where we're sharing information with you and then also having opportunities to hear from you all as well. Along those lines, I want to take a couple of minutes just to talk through our run of program here for today. Certainly want to congratulate again the class of 2020 for all of those graduates that we have on the lines here with us for today. And I hope that folks are enjoying your summer. And what I will say to that is we're having to balance through social distancing and having small numbers of folks gathering, something that we've never experienced before as a nation or even globally, and yet we're doing that in a very, very good way. So I really hope that folks are continuing to exercise self-care where they need to, enjoying the portion of the summer where they can. I know lots of you all are just getting finished with internships, and maybe originally you thought that internship was going to be in California or in New York or in another market, and maybe now you're completing that at your home. The important piece of this is you've still had those opportunities, and I hope that you've been able to build some good relationships during those times. I want to talk a little bit about some of our numbers here for today, and I mentioned this at the intro. This is a record-setting call, a record-setting webinar here for us. Team, we have over 2,000 registrations for today's webinar. That eclipses any total that we have ever had in our 6 years of actually conducting these. So special thanks to everyone that registered and shared the information online with others to help us, again, get to this record-setting number. I do want to run through just some metrics here. From a referral source standpoint, virtual high five to our national strategic partners at the Hispanic Scholarship Fund and also at the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. You all are actually the ones that referred the most individuals to this particular call. But there's a caveat with this. My college was actually the biggest referral source, meaning that the college that the students attend was the one that referred them. So congratulations again to all of the colleges in sharing this great information. Our top states here for today, the state of North Carolina actually finished in first place. Cali, our folks on the West Coast, actually finished in second place. And the city of my birth and the state of my birth, New York, you all came in third there for the top number of referrals. And then from a school standpoint, this is a new one for us. Got to give a big shout out to the USC Trojans. So I got my victory sign up here. Y'all can't see it, but I got my victory sign up there. Trojans, you guys actually came in first with the highest number of registrants for this time around. I love my folks at CUNY, New York, or excuse me, at the CUNY system, better yet, but CUNY, York. Congratulations to you all on your great referrals. You all actually came in second place, referring the second highest number of students here for today. And then our good friends at North Carolina A&T, just right up the street in Greensboro, you all actually came in third as the top school referral here. So big shout out to all of you all for those great referrals and getting connected in. Listen, let's dig into it. What are we going to be talking about? We're going to talk about career opportunities with Wells Fargo. You're going to hear very clearly today the opportunities that are going to be available and specific details and timelines on when you need to act. Just like today, if you wanted to be on, you had to be here at 4 o'clock Eastern time to kick off, right? We're going to be giving you some of those same details about deadlines that are going to be really, really important for you. We're also going to give you some things to think in mind. I use this analogy a lot, but whether you're an anthropology major or a zoology major, you have an opportunity to be involved in financial services. And so we hope that you'll get some information there. And the best part of this, you're going to have an opportunity to hear firsthand from some amazing leaders within our institution, and also an opportunity to hear firsthand from analysts and associates, scholars that have literally been where you are. They were in your shoes 2 years ago, 3 years ago, a year ago, and now they've been successful and they can share a lot of their journey with you. A couple of quick reminders here. around things before we kind of get into the next steps of things here for today. Please remember to use the Q&A feature. Tim, we have at least 150, probably close to 200 different questions that have come in. We're going to be integrating a lot of those comments into what we're sharing throughout today's presentation. Please remember, if you submit questions to us, those are coming to us confidentially. We will never share your name, rank, or serial number for a question that you submit. But thank you for being willing to ask those questions, because if it's top of mind for you, it may be top of mind for somewhere else. Please remember that we'll talk a little bit more about our webinar schedule. We'll give you some details about a survey as well that we'll be launching kind of in the later half of the call, where you can give us some feedback, and then also remind you that you'll have access to the playback of this webinar through December the 31st of the end of this year. And then finally, get social with us. We want you to go ahead and use that hashtag WFC Beyond College. You can hashtag WFC Beyond College if you're sharing, if you're taking a screenshot of content, if you're shouting out our partners that are on the line today or mentioning them via LinkedIn. Go ahead and use that hashtag with us so we can see the information. So polling is going to be an important part of today's discussion, team. So I want to go ahead and start by launching a quick poll here that will just get a sense of the year that you are in school. So that poll is actually going out right now, and we'll give it just a moment to start fielding some of those responses with things. But we're going to utilize polling a couple of times throughout the course of today's session. So we want you to get comfortable with being able to fill this out. So again, this was very simply, what is your year in school? I know we've got a number of high schoolers that are also joining us here today. So high schoolers, as well as our college students, we want you to go ahead and fill this information out, and let's see how our results get tallied in. All right, looks like we're starting to get some results here. All right, and let's see what we have here. All right, and we'll bring these up on the screen. All right, so it's a very interesting cross-section here. All right, underclassmen, you guys are in the house. We see you representing my juniors and seniors. We're shouting you all out. You all are really setting the market there with your participation. Hey, love the post-grads and the law school folks that we have on, as well as the college graduates that are in the mix here with us for today. So thank you for those responses. And again, we'll have some additional polling that will be happening a little bit later on during today's discussion. Tim, with that said, in just a moment, we're going to hand the reins over to the real stars of this show. But again, I want you to remember to please utilize that Q&A feature. Our team is literally answering these responses as they come in. So keep feeding that box for us, and everyone will get an individualized response on the items that you've submitted here for the questions. Remember, if it's top of mind for you, I guarantee you that it's top of mind for someone else. All right, with that said, I quickly want to hand the reins over to a wonderful, trusted partner of ours, Shonda Jefferson, 20-plus year team of industry experience, a great leader within our institution and within our firm. So, Shonda, elated to have you on with us here for today. I submit to you, given the significance of this day, we just had a memorial service earlier today for distinguished Congressman John R. Lewis. So, Shonda, I think it's time for us to get into some good trouble. What do you think?
I agree with you. It's time to get in some good trouble. I love that reference, too, because when we were preparing for this, Dewey, I was thinking about good trouble. I was thinking about the fact that I love what I do and the team I do it with. And we bring in hires that bring fresh thinking and perspective to this company. And sometimes that means good trouble, right? So proud to be a part of the pipeline of good trouble for Wells Fargo. Thank all of you for joining us today. I'm Shonda Jefferson. I'm the head of university programs here at Wells, which means I have an honor. I work with a team of dedicated folks who support recruiting, training, and program management for our campus hiring strategy here at Wells. And on behalf of all of us, we're glad to have this opportunity to sell you on Wells Fargo today. A couple of things to note. Our university programs and recruiting teams are very tenured. I think Dewey mentioned that I've been here 20 years, and that's not an unusual thing to hear at Wells Fargo, to be honest with you. Our own Chief Learning Officer, by the way, is an alum of our university programs, as is Leah Stewart, who you'll hear from later. She's going to facilitate our panel. We are thrilled to share this information with you because we have grown up here, we believe in this organization, and we'd like you all to know a little bit more about why we are still here before we conclude today. So know that Wells Fargo is thrilled to host nearly 700 interns across the country this year. Of course, it's a memorable year for us because COVID required some strategic changes, some fancy dances on the fly that impacted our curriculum and logistics. And our entire intern community is currently working remotely. Dewey made the point before that some of you are probably working or anticipated working in California or New York or some other market. And alas, you are working from home, as I am today in my lovely home office. And we were happy that we were able to make revisions to our strategy this year that supported us in hosting these 700 individuals. We are in week 4 of what has been a reimagined but successful internship experience. And we're so excited and proud of that. So we can advance to the next slide, but I'll also mention to you that it's kind of wonderful providence that we happen to be presenting with you on National Internship Day. And for us, that means we will be doing a community service event today. We will be listening to actually our CEO as a part of our speaker series. Charlie Sharp is right at this very hour speaking to a community of interns, or the community of interns, for our speaker series. So that's exciting work, and we're glad to be hosting you. There's no more appropriate time for us to be speaking to you than on a day like National Internship Day when we're proud of what we do. So if we could talk a little bit about who we are, let me start by confirming that the goal of university programs is to hire, develop, motivate, and retain the best talent at Wells Fargo. We target talent like you very strategically to develop future leaders of the organization. That's one intent. We want to also identify pipelines of talent for emerging, critical, and challenging positions in the company. And ultimately, that goal is to serve our customers who are at the center of everything we do. And we do all of this with a lens on diversity. We really know that a diverse perspective and diversity of thought is critical to our success here at Wells Fargo, so that's important to us. So you're looking at the slide with these wonderful stats that we're so proud of. We are proud to note that we are a top company to work for. We're recognized by LinkedIn and really Diversity Inc. for that. We're proud of our philanthropic efforts. We're proud of what we do in supplier diversity. We hope that you will consider this. If you've researched us at all, you're also aware that our new CEO, Charlie Sharp, has been busy leading our transformation. So he is growing our leadership team. He's positioning us to become even more efficient in our operating environment, and he's enhancing expectations for everyone at the company. He's a very strong advocate of university programs. If you've heard him speak about his priorities this year, the priorities heavily focus on diversity initiatives, among other things, and for us, university programs is amongst those diversity initiatives. And a few of those expectations that he shared with us align really directly with the mission of university programs. They are learn and grow, champion diversity and inclusion, and build high-performing teams. What university programs does all of those things. They are a critical focus for us. Learning and growing, championing diversity and inclusion, and building high-performing teams. So we hope that you will consider being a part of the team that further strengthens that foundation, demonstrates our commitment to those expectations, and do consider that LinkedIn and Diversity Inc. recognition is important to us, but we're especially proud of our philanthropic recognition. In September 2019, for example, we held our first dedicated day of service, which meant that Wells Fargo team members, employees across the country were at the same time on the very same day spending part or all of their day volunteering in our local community. So that's really important to us. Okay, so you're looking at the university programs experience slide now. And university programs are designed to have opportunities for learning and relationship development experiences throughout. Learning and relationship development, both critical components of what we do. So networking and exclusive events refers to the fact that we really provide opportunities for access and visibility to senior leaders It gives you face time, but also confidence-building opportunity, engaging across level. There are social events like those listed here, mixers, luncheons, networking events, but we also have lunch and learn events. We had a lunch and learn event last week that was about social media do's and don'ts, for example. We have a speaker series like the one I referenced earlier with our CEO speaking to our interns today. We also focus on industry training, which means line of business or discipline-specific training that prepares you well for your opportunity within our environment. We give opportunities for team building. So these events are collaborative efforts and projects where you're both learning, but you're also producing something tangible, and you're growing your critical peer network. That peer network matters a lot. As we grow in the organization, it's good to have people to bounce things off of, to share with. And mentorship, of course, alignment with others who can share the benefit of their experience for counsel, direction, and just as a listening ear, frankly. All right, you can advance to the next slide. And the next slide does speak to our opportunities. You will see that we have opportunities in banking, finance, and markets, enterprise functions, and technology. I know that you can read this slide, so I won't read every program title for you, but I hope this slide demonstrates that our opportunities are broad-based, and as such, we welcome all kinds of expertise, majors, and disciplines. As a bank, we often have to dispel the idea that we are focused solely on finance and business majors, and that's simply not true. Our CEO of CIB, we love telling the story. If you have heard it before, I will apologize in advance. But our CEO of CIB, John Weiss, for example, has a degree in Romance languages. I think that's a notable point, and emphasizes that we are open to majors and focused on talent. Open to various majors and focused on talent. And that said, there's opportunity for you to find out more about this information on our various websites. We'll share more information and links to that detail later in the call. But that gives me a great segue to give you a connection with Leah Stewart. We have representatives from many of these programs on our opportunity slide on our panel today. Leah Stewart will be leading your panel today. Leah has spent 18 years at Wells. She's the head of university recruiting. I mentioned earlier that she joined us as a part of a university program, which I'm proud of. But I'm proudest of the work that she exhibits in her role. She is an excellent leader in this organization. She is knowledgeable and an amazing partner. And I'm fortunate to have her as a counterpart. Leah, thanks for all that you do and for facilitating the panel today. The floor is yours.
Shonda, thank you. I'm blushing. So I am Leah Stewart. I lead our university recruiting team, and I will echo Shonda's comments. She is a wonderful partner for me as well. So much of the work we do is very much integrated and requires a lot of collaboration. So we're excited to partner on these efforts and bring forth a number of excellent programs across the platform of Wells Fargo. I will just comment on a couple housekeeping items before we get into really the highlight of our agenda today, which is our panel. Dewey wanted me to remind you all that he will be pushing out a number of links, so we would encourage you to bookmark those links. Also, I see that you all are inputting all of your questions in the Q&A chat box. We've got some tired fingers already trying to get to all of those. But just know if you have very specific questions about application dates and resources around there, just know that we're going to get to some of those specific dates and specific programs a bit later in our presentation. So know that that's coming. As Shonda mentioned, I've been with Wells Fargo for a total of 18 years. My team does lead and manage the end-to-end recruiting process for our formal, full-time, and internship programs across Wells Fargo. And I have the distinct pleasure of moderating our panel today. So our panelists represent both current and former early talent participants, so they're certainly closer to the work than I am, and they'll be sharing a lot of information with you. This is really the highlight of our presentation. We want to keep this engaging, and we have a number of questions teed up for them, but then we'll also save some for our Q&A portion as well. But we want you to really understand the work that you might do if you were to come in as an intern or a full-time team member with us. We want that work to feel tangible. They have a number of tips that they can share with you as well in terms of how to navigate the recruiting process and how to navigate a campus to corporate type of environment. We also wanted to make sure we had a cross-section of businesses represented. So the intention is for you to really understand the breadth and variety of work that we do at Wells Fargo at the entry level as well. So with that, we will turn it over to our panel. We're going to start with introductions. So I'll just start with William on the top left, and we'll go from there. So over to you, William.
Thank you, Leah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is William D. Hainett, but you guys can go ahead and call me Billy. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, and I completed my undergraduate studies from FIU, or Florida International University, in May of 2018 with a degree in finance. And I had the luxury of being an intern with Wells Fargo in the summer of 2017 in Des Moines, Iowa, as a compliance and operational risk intern for home lending in their capital markets group. Now, shortly after I graduated, I decided to go ahead and move to Charlotte, North Carolina, to officially begin my career at Wells Fargo as a corporate risk associate in the 2-year rotational risk associate program, where I was exposed to various risk functions across Wells Fargo with 4 6-month rotations. And also on a side note, I just want to mention that this program that I was in is no longer available in the format I experienced. And it's now more of a 1-year program with 2 6-month rotations, and it's called the Enterprise Risk Development Program for anyone that's interested, and take notes of that. Now, through the program I was in, the Risk Associate Program, I was able to go ahead and gain a holistic view of risk from the various rotations I had over the 2-year time frame, ranging from Wells Fargo Auto, to Wells Fargo Virtual Channels, to Payments Virtual Solutions and Innovations, and Corporate Investment Banking supporting Wells Fargo Securities. And in each one of these rotations I had, there was a focus on different areas in risk to go ahead and expand my knowledge from a risk perspective. I recently completed my program a few months now. It was back in, May, at the end of May of 2020, and I was able to obtain a full-time offer with my team for my last rotation as a financial crimes associate for Wells Fargo Securities, focusing on anti-money laundering, and I'm still based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. So with that being said, I will go ahead and pass it along now to Ari.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So I am originally from Venezuela, but I grew up also in Miami, Florida. I graduated in 2018 from the University of Florida. Between my junior and senior year, I was also lucky to intern with Wells Fargo in our technology investment banking group, and sits out in San Francisco. So after that internship, decided to join the team full-time, and I've been on the desk for close to 2 years now. Our team provides advisory and capital markets work for our larger corporate clients, and we collaborate with a bunch of different parts of the bank to be able to give the best advice that we can. But it's a really great way to get exposure to senior leadership at a bunch of the firms that are meaningful in the broader technology space. And excited to talk about that and talk to you over the course of the next hour or so. I'm passing it over to Kathy.
Yeah, thank you. I see a lot of Florida people. I like this. Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine. I interned with Wells Fargo, first came in contact with them through a women in financial services super day, essentially, in Charlotte back in, I believe, 2017. And I had my internship in commercial capital, more specifically capital finance, so asset-backed lending, in summer 2018 in Chicago. And then I received a full-time offer to return back to the same office. So I currently sit in Chicago still, For the first 6 months, I started full-time June 2019. So for the first 6 months, I shadowed and kind of worked in field exams, so basically auditing the businesses that we lend to. And just this past January, I was brought on, I guess, officially really started my career in underwriting, so still capital finance, just a different group. And so now I'm an underwriting analyst, and as part of the larger financial analyst program, which is a two-year-long, training program. So you work full-time, and there's also, trainings throughout those 2 years. So I really enjoyed it. I really appreciate the attention to detail in terms of analyst development and understanding of the line of business. So looking forward to speaking to you all, and thank you for having me. And I'll pass it over to Kaylee.
Thanks, Jasmine. Hi, my name is Kaylee Viasis. I was born and raised in the St. Louis, Missouri area. Prior to joining Wells Fargo full-time, I interned twice. I went to Harris Stowe State University in St. Louis, which is a small historically black university. And I just so happened to have an internship program in partnership with Wells Fargo Advisors, which was just a block up the street. So I started off with Wells Fargo Advisors in an internship with human resources. And so during that time, I was really involved in helping with a recruiting project at the time. And then from that original internship with human resources and Wells Fargo Advisors, I applied for the WIM internship program, which, I spent the summer out in Raleigh, North Carolina in a financial advisors branch with them, participating in client meetings, traveling with them to meet their clients at various locations, really spending time getting to know the ins and outs of the brokerage business. So spent 10 weeks there over a summer. And then from the WIM internship program, I applied for the Wealth and Investment Management Analyst program. And the WIM Analyst program is a 10-month-long program. And during that time, you are in the same role that you will finish in and eventually transition full-time into. But during that time, that 10 months of the program, you travel for different development sessions, do a lot of team building, hear from several senior leaders across the enterprise, and really just have the opportunity to network in a way that I wouldn't have been allowed had I not been in the program. So currently I sit in Wealth and Investment Management Operations Transformation team. As said before, Wells Fargo is in a time of huge change, which is exciting to be part of from where I sit. And so I am a business initiatives consultant leading various business efforts within the organization. I'm very excited to be here with you all today, just echoing what Jasmine said, and look forward to connecting with more of you. And I'll pass it over to you, Matt, last but certainly not least.
Thank you, Kaylee. So I'm Matt Thomas. I had grown up in Rockville, Maryland, which is a little bit northwest of Washington, D.C. I went to North Carolina State University. I got a degree in computer science. And then I applied to a number of internships and ended up taking one with the Capital Markets Technology Early Talent Program. And I loved it and came back and stayed with the same team. So I've been working in the capital markets technology space, which was originally aligned directly to the business, but kind of similar to what some of my peers had said, there's been a lot of good change over the last 5 or 6 years. So now the head of technology actually reports directly up into the board, so it's more organized and cohesive unit. So what my team does is we work closely with the front office and middle office to develop internal solutions around pricing, risk, and profit and loss analytics, in addition to things like reporting and data aggregation for business managers and salespersons. So that's all about my intro, and I think we're going to get into some panel questions now.
Yeah. Thank you all. I think great to hear your backgrounds, and certainly I think it showcases just the variety of work that you're all doing across the company. So hopefully everyone on the phone is getting that sense, and we'll get that sense over the next few questions. So we'll start with certainly a current event type question. Obviously, we've been going through a lot of change and transitioning to a more virtual environment the last few months. So a question for a couple of you: how has this current environment impacted your role? So I think I'll start with Ari on this one.
Sure, thanks for that. So for me, I think I haven't seen a very large change in the way that we do our job. I think our clients expect us to be responsive in the same way that we were in the office. But ultimately what that means is when you're not able to be face-to-face with someone that you're working with, that you have to be a lot more deliberate in your communications with them and making sure that they know, if you've received a specific ask from a client or from a senior team member, that they know that you're working on it. So what that's meant is a lot of time on the phone with our senior bankers and spending more time with them. But ultimately, the nature of the work is the same. Back in March and April, a lot of our clients were worried about liquidity and making sure that they had enough cash on the balance sheet to weather the storm if anything happened, and when we didn't know how bad this downturn was going to be. And so we definitely saw a rapid acceleration of clients wanting to tap debt and equity capital markets, and so maybe we were doing a little bit more of that than we would have ordinarily done. But ultimately, the nature of the work is the same, and we're glad to have been able to kind of continue delivering for our clients during a difficult time for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Jasmine, anything to add in terms of your experience during COVID the past few months?
Yeah, so starting as a underwriting analyst, so still in the analyst position, my capabilities are still a little bit limited, especially, being this new to my position. I think, I have been able to assist in underwriting some loans earlier this year. And I think, it's very interesting with COVID and just, general tariffs and steel prices and whatnot, relations with China, seeing how that kind of speeds up the deals that I work on. And we might be working on projections from a company, and suddenly they'll send us, new projections because, something wild happened in the news. Or I think it's just very interesting. It's very day by day, keeps you on your toes, which I enjoy, being able to think quickly and be creative and try to adjust to the economy and the news and politics and all that. So seeing how they're all connected has really changed the way we underwrite deals, and has also kind of, made the learning process more exciting for me.
That's great. It's interesting to hear you both speak. I mean, I hear themes of flexibility and innovation and certainly being more deliberate in your communication style, which I think are all, very important aspects, not just in the recruiting process, but when you're transitioning into a new role. So thanks for your commentary on that. So we'll roll into our next question. What do you wish you know now? What do you know now that you wish you had known when you were in the recruiting process? So we're actually going to go back to Ari and Jasmine on this one as well. So Ari, I'll take that one back to you.
Yeah, so one thing that I definitely wish I would have known is how open people are to answering questions and to connect on their jobs. I think we all definitely remember being in the same shoes just a couple years ago and being confused and having a bunch of questions. And so, we're definitely open to making time for people who have those questions and kind of answering those questions and being honest about our experiences. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out to people and to kind of ask them what's the difference between this role and that role. What do you do on a daily basis? Like all of those are questions that we're happy to speak to, and we think ultimately will help recruit the right people into the respective roles. The more you know about what you're trying to do, the better you will be prepared to kind of fit that role.
Great. Jasmine, anything to add on the recruiting process?
Yeah, for sure. I think, and I didn't mention this before, but I also graduated from the University of Florida. So, I mean, it was a big school. I'm a first-gen college student, the first to graduate. So I think going into my junior year was definitely nerve-wracking, just not really having a ton of resources already, or the feeling of not having a lot of resources, knowing what to do during the recruiting process. I think, just asking questions. There isn't a dumb question. I don't think there ever will be. So I think just, reaching out to people that you may know or may not know, or, one of us following this, I think, just kind of surrounding yourself with a lot of information, or at least if you don't know, someone next to you might know. So I think, just Googling around or just reaching out to random people, I think is a good way to start, formulating what it is that you want out of your next job and figuring out what that job wants out of you is a good way to start. And I do wish I started early. There is, no time that's too early, even if it's your freshman year, if you're in high school. It's good that you're, on this call, kind of getting yourself, familiar with the process and how you want to see yourself in your next or first job.
That's a great point. And, Dewey and I have laughed over the years because we used to host this webinar in October, and we kept pushing it back, and as you can see, it's now in July. So it is important to start early because, certainly businesses are on different timelines, and some are more accelerated than others, but within your college career as well. I know we've got some freshmen and sophomores on here, so it's great that you all are getting some exposure to the opportunities that are out there now, because you can really just build on those learning experiences. And just to add to that, being authentic and asking questions. Okay, well, we are fortunate to have a number of former interns on our panel as well. So I'm curious, what did you learn during your internship that you may not have learned in college? So we'll start with Kaylee on this one.
Awesome. Thanks, Leah. So I think this answer to me is fairly simple, and it's the real world experience that you're getting through the internship. You can't learn a business sitting in a classroom, right? You get the foundational pieces, but you're not really out in an organization learning about the culture, hearing from different guest speakers, learning about the organizational structure and how things really work. So I think that real world experience is the key, right? And I'll add to that just with a few pieces that are important to me, right? So with that real world experience, you discover things that you don't like, and then you discover things that you do like. So getting that real world experience is important. You can think your whole life that you want to go into a sales role, and you intern in a sales role, and you're like, what on earth was I thinking? I am not cut out for this. You have time to, get on a different track, try something else out, and find something that's a better fit for you and your skill set and your strengths. So important to get that real world experience, figure out what you like and don't like. And with that, preparing you for your first role. I'm very grateful to have been an intern prior to starting a full-time role, because I had a vague idea of what to expect, and it wasn't just feeling like I was being thrown into a deep end of the pool, right? So I was able to get some real-world experience prior to starting full-time in the real deal. And then most importantly, I think the value in that real-world experience that you get with an internship and can't learn in college is getting that professional feedback, right? You could be the best student in the whole world and struggle in a position, right? So I think it's important to seek out feedback, and not just from your best friend at work, right? Seek out feedback from people you work with in different capacities, and really use that internship time to learn about yourself professionally, what you're good at, what you may struggle a little bit with more, right? Form partnerships with others who may have strengths in areas where you may not be as up to speed. So real world experience is really what you get in an internship that you will never get in college.
Some great feedback. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Billy, I know you were an intern with us as well, so if you can maybe comment on this as well and what you learned during your internship that you didn't get that exposure in college.
Yeah, of course. So I just want to go ahead and echo a little bit of what Kaylee had mentioned about that real-world experience. There's no comparison as to the real-world experience you'll get as an intern, or even if you're in a co-op position, right, versus what you're going to learn in the classroom. The most similar thing you can get to somewhat real-world experience is in some student organizations. If you are a leader on campus and you're on the executive board and you run some sort of student organization, that's kind of the closest thing you'll be able to get, or even if you're on a board of, some volunteer organization as well. But as far as receiving feedback, it's great when all the feedback is perfect and great and, you don't do anything wrong, but you need to be able to receive, without getting offended, constructive feedback, because sometimes, you can kind of take it the wrong way, but they want to, whoever's giving the feedback, they always want what's best in my situation. They want you to grow professionally and personally so that you can be the best person you can. And, sometimes the constructive feedback isn't too bad, and other times it's like, it can be, depending on the person, it could be a little blunt, so it just depends. But being able to accept that and to learn from it, that's one of the biggest things that I'd never heard that ever in the classroom. Another thing that I heard in school but didn't really, put it much into practice to understand the importance of it is teamwork. You are involved in a lot of group projects. You may not think much about it, but when you get to the real world, whether it be your internship, a co-op, or your first full-time opportunity, or even 10, 15 years down the road, you're always going to be working in teams. When I was an intern, probably like 50 to 70% of all the work that I did was team-oriented, so you need to, and even so now in my program that I was in, and my current role, a lot of the work is team-based. So you need to be able to learn how to work with people, and that's probably one of the most difficult parts of a job, is being able to work with people, because everyone is different. They have difficult personalities. Some people are introverts, some people are extroverts. Everyone's on different schedules. People are super busy. How do you communicate with your peers versus communicating with your manager versus even, communicating with senior management? And as an intern, you could possibly get exposure to the senior management depending on your internship. And, that happened to me. That happened to my mentor when I was an intern. So it is very possible. And it's like, how do you communicate properly with them? So those are all very important things that you gain from an internship. And lastly, what I gained was the value of budgeting your money. This is something you may not really hear. It's coming from left field, but for me, I had to work my way through my entire college career. I had to pay for all of my things, and I had money coming in and I had money going out, and I just spent money. I didn't really have a system to it, and that's something that's very important. And when I had my internship at Wells, I started really thinking about my long-term future and thinking about the costs. I want to buy a house. I want to buy, a car. You want to get married, maybe. You want to go to grad school, whatever it may be. Everything costs money. And to be able to understand the value of it and just don't let it come and go, and to have a plan for it. And that's something that I really started to appreciate and focus in on, that I never learned in college. I mean, maybe some of you guys did. You took a class maybe in high school, but I never learned anything about money in high school, college. And it's always been what people, you've heard what people tell you. So to gain an appreciation for it, and just don't waste your money, and put it to good use so that then, you can go ahead and donate money to whatever cause you may want for the better good of everyone. So those are some of the things I learned through my internship that I didn't learn while in college.
That's great. Yeah, I heard a lot of great themes there. Seeking out feedback, continuous learning. Certainly I'll echo the comments on teamwork and communication skills. I think that's one of those things that, is one of the biggest adjustments in coming to a corporate environment, how to communicate at the peer level, at the senior level, and synthesizing information where your peers, managers, and clients can read them. So a lot of great lessons there. Okay, we'll move to the next question. What was the most uncomfortable part of your career, at least thus far? So we'll start with Matt on this one.
Hey, everybody. So I think the most uncomfortable part of my career was actually just a few months into when I was working full-time. I had interned with a team who I was fortunate enough to get an offer and was able to come back to work for the same team full-time through the Technology Early Talent Program. And it was a fairly small and close-knit team, had really great atmosphere, and I was very closely working with one senior developer at the time who had been with the company for probably around 15 years. And he decided that he wanted to just try something different since he had spent most of his career at Wells. And so he took an opportunity elsewhere. And it was really challenging for me at first because I had someone that I could always go to for questions and that they could kind of walk me through things that they were working on, help guide me and help me learn. But it actually ended up being one of the best experiences of my career as well because it really was a trial by fire. I was kind of forced to dig in, figure out how to understand things on my own, how to be resourceful and not just depend on one person. So it was very uncomfortable, but it also was a positive experience in the end.
Great. Kaylee, what about you?
This one's hard to pinpoint for me because I think there's a little bit discomfort at every point in my job since I've started. But I think the hardest part, the part where I was the most uncomfortable, was just getting started, right? So the HR internship that I originally took in the spring semester of 2017, I was jazzed about that, right? I always loved being around people. I was interested in HR from the get-go, from the time I started school. But then the opportunity arose for the WIM internship program. I was not, I still am not someone who is jazzed and wakes up and checks the market and things like that, right? So I didn't have a ton of knowledge on markets and trading. I didn't have any hands-on experience with that. And I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, far away from my husband and my dogs for the summer on my own. And I was with 3 other interns who had already had pretty in-depth experience with trading. So super uncomfortable, but I think it's important to know that when you're uncomfortable, the best thing you can do is just lean into it. When you lean into that discomfort, not only do you get more comfortable with it and push yourself outside of your comfort zone, but you end up learning a lot along the way, right? So I'm still not jazzed about the market when I wake up in the morning, but I have that basic understanding to where I can now hold a conversation in my professional world on the market, right? And so I'm no longer in the dark. Do I want to do that for the rest of my life? Absolutely not. But I think throughout your career and just the 3 years that I've been with the firm, I would say that I'm uncomfortable often. And I'm not meaning uncomfortable where I'm physically and mentally unwell, but I'm talking about like normal discomfort, right? Not you're challenging yourself, you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, and you're growing. So I would challenge anyone who may not be even a little uncomfortable, right? Because maybe, either you're not challenging yourself enough, you're selling yourself short, or maybe you're not being honest with yourself about what you can know more about or do more of. So I think that there's always opportunity to grow, and being uncomfortable is a huge part of that, but leaning into the discomfort is key for growth in a career.
Absolutely. That's where the growth happens for sure. Okay, we've got a few more questions, and just so you all know, we have dedicated time for some more ad hoc Q&A as well. So feel free to keep inputting those, and we'll try to respond privately, and we'll also address many of those in our Q&A. But Matt, I'm going to go back to you on this one. Can you talk about how you manage your time while prioritizing other work?
Yeah, this is actually one thing that I personally needed to actively work on once I started my career. And we always had to manage many requests coming in and out, and you would have long-term strategic work, short-term tactical work. And I was very motivated to try and tackle everything. And when that happens, it's very easy to lose track of all of the things that you are responsible for. So what I did is I created a to-do list that I changed how I manage that over the years, but usually in some sort of application or tool, so I can rearrange it as needed. I'll reevaluate it every single day, and if I'm ever unclear about how I should be prioritizing my time, I'll consult my manager or whoever is the lead on the project that I'm working for, so that I make sure that I'm moving in the right direction, but that I'm also communicating, this is how much that I think that I can get done, and these are other things that I'm keeping track of, but I don't believe that I'll be able to get to in the next day or in the next week or anything of that sort.
Great, good advice. All right, and we have our last question for the panel, and then we'll move into some application timelines and also some more impromptu Q&A as well. So this one I'll send over to Billy. Why did you choose Wells Fargo as the place to start your career?
So for me, it was pretty straightforward, and there's three main reasons why I decided to start my career at Wells Fargo. One was diversity and inclusion. Two was the fit, and three was the challenging environment that I would be facing by starting at Wells Fargo, being in a risk function. From a diversity and inclusion standpoint, I'm Cuban American, and diversity has always been, and it always will be, extremely important to me. And Wells Fargo has been one of the top 50 companies to work for regarding diversity. And I know dating back to when I was an intern in 2017 up until now, we've been in the top 15 every year, which has been, honestly, it's phenomenal. And so I was able to witness the cultural and intellectual diversity that's present at Wells Fargo firsthand in my internship, not only from the people that I had worked with in the various offices. I went to every single office they had in Des Moines. I think it was like 6 offices, and how many tens of thousands of people were there. I got to, well, I didn't tens of thousands of people, but meeting literally hundreds of people for the work I did as an intern. Being able to meet with them, talk with them, and also everyone I met with virtually. I wanted to speak to as many people as I could about the diversity at Wells Fargo because it was so important to me. And I wanted to gain their perspective. And overall, it was a pretty positive feedback that I received, and how important it was at Wells and everything we do in the community. So by being able to see it firsthand and learn about the team member networks, that's when I was first introduced to it. It wasn't just a lot of talk. I was able to see it with my own eyes, and that is the main reason why I came to Wells Fargo. The second reason was the fit. Within my second week at Wells Fargo, I knew I wanted to be at Wells Fargo for my career. I wanted to start my career there. And the only way I can describe it is it was my gut feeling. I didn't know what it was. I didn't get that with any other firm I interviewed with. As far as for full-time programs and even internships, whatever it was with Wells, I just knew right away that this is where I needed to be. And the third part was the challenging environment. We all know Wells Fargo has been in the news the past couple of years. Sometimes it's great news and other times it's, not the best. And for me, that really attracted me because Wells Fargo needed to improve our risk management capabilities, and I wanted a challenge coming out of school. And I had offers from other Wall Street banks, asset management companies, but I decided to come to Wells Fargo because I knew it wasn't going to be easy and that it would truly give me a test of my capabilities and what I was able to do given the regulatory environment we're facing. And looking back, I would not have changed my decision on it. I'm so glad I've been able to start my career here and really grow into an amazing young professional thanks to Wells Fargo.
That's great. Really great commentary there. And I'll echo, it's a dynamic place to be right now, a lot of change, a lot of new leaders, but I think that creates a lot of opportunity, especially in our early talent programs as well. I'll open this one up to the rest of the panel. Why did you choose Wells Fargo as the place to start your career? Anyone else want to take that one?
Hey, this is Ari. I can jump in as well. So for me, it was a variety of factors. I think similar to what Billy said, it was a challenging environment. Like I definitely experienced that during my internship, where I was just learning a lot each and every day. And I knew that kind of that would continue as I advanced in my role. I'll just I think speak to a lot about the current environment and at Wells, but my team specifically was definitely very entrepreneurial. It was still a growing team that was taking market share from other banks in the investment banking practice, and so I was excited to kind of work to continue that trend. Similarly, Wells is a kind of full-service bank, and there's a ton of different capabilities that we can bring to our clients. And there's a lot of those offerings are unique to Wells relative to some other smaller players, and so I wanted to kind of be able to touch on all of those through my work. And lastly, the element of fit. I knew in going through recruiting and interacting with different groups, also from different banks, and I like the people at Wells Fargo more. They seem to be more genuine, more invested in me, wanting to see me be successful and willing to commit their time to helping me learn and helping me be better at my role. And so I knew that was the type of environment that I wanted to be in, and that was where I wanted to start my career as well.
That's great. Well, thank you to all the panelists. Please stick around. We might have some other questions lobbed your way. But we do, just in the interest of time, need to move ahead to talk about some of the mechanics around our recruiting process, application dates. I know there are a lot of people on the phone that are looking for some of that information. So we'll start with our resources slide, and this might be the most important slide in the presentation because this is really the gateway to all the information that you're looking for. So first I'll highlight our university programs website. This is a one-stop shop for us on the programs, so you can get more information on the job descriptions, the divisions we're recruiting for, even next steps in the career and what that might look like, and the details on our application process. So that is a great place to start. We also wanted you to know Wells Fargo is the exclusive sponsor of TFS scholarships. So please check out that website for more information on scholarships. And I would also suggest that you join our talent community. You're going to see a lot of information in the next few slides, but this process and joining our talent community will make that process so much easier for you. We send alerts that are customized to your graduation dates, so you'll know when we're opening up applications for specific internship and full-time programs. So that's a key resource for you. And then, of course, I'll put in a plug for the rest of our Beyond College webinar series that Dewey hosts. So Dewey will touch on some of the upcoming webinars that we have, but this is just a great resource to further your development and learning. So next up, I'll talk a little bit about our internship application dates. I'm not going to read through all of this and call out the job IDs for you. So what I would probably suggest you do is pull out your phone and take a picture These job IDs and application windows are also noted on our university programs website, so you can always go there for this information. And just keep in mind that we do have some accelerated timelines. This year we're looking to hire close to 800 interns this year. I know we have a number of sophomores and juniors on the call, so this is the slide that's relevant for you. All of these programs do accept juniors. I saw a few questions come in around which programs are looking for sophomores. Sometimes those windows happen separately. So for example, for our summer financial analyst program, typically our sophomore application window takes place in the spring. And we also open up our wealth and investment management internship program to sophomores as well. So, there might be some variance in terms of graduation requirements depending on the program.
Hey, Leah, this is Dewey. I want to reiterate something that you mentioned on this slide, the importance of these dates. I mean, I see dates as early as September on here. I mean, we're in August in 2 days. This is right around the corner.
That's absolutely right. And it's going to be even more accelerated for full-time. And we've already had some programs that have accepted applications for interns and are in the interview process. So corporate and investment banking actually has a super day that they're hosting today. So just know, if you're a freshman or sophomore looking ahead to corporate and investment banking opportunities, the market has shifted. It's of more accelerated timelines, sometimes as early as May and June. So just something to keep in mind that, there is some variance from business to business. So definitely join the talent community and you'll always get those updates. On a full-time basis, we are looking to hire close to 700 full-time hires this year. So we're really excited about that. We do have some additional opportunities for our master's and MBA candidates. So I know there's a few of you out there. So you can see we do have an MBA program within corporate and investment banking. There's just a few additional programs that aren't noted that are still finalizing their application dates. So credit risk, we have a master's and MBA program there. We hire masters and PhDs for our quantitative analytics program, which will likely have an application window in kind of the September-October timeframe. So just know August 12th, that's when corporate investment banking will post their jobs, so they have some additional needs to fill after their intern conversion timeline. And then many of the others are going to be in that early September timeframe. So moving ahead to the next slide, I know we have several seniors on here, and we also have some graduates as well. So there might be a few of you who are looking for opportunities now versus waiting until 2021 when our full-time program starts. So we do have some specialized hiring forums that we wanted to highlight. These forums are really unique in that they add in some developmental opportunities while we're also working with you to help you navigate the interview process at Wells Fargo. So a couple that I would note, our Latinx Graduating Seniors Pipeline Forum. We are going to start accepting applications for that on August 3rd. And as you can see, those are going to be virtual events, but that forum will take place in October, as will our HBCU Graduating Seniors Pipeline Forum. So these forums are really designed to pipeline into roles all across Wells Fargo, some that are starting, as early as November, December 2020, and some that will have a 2021 start date. So some great opportunities there that I would note. And then on the technology side of the house, we have a couple programs for women in technology. So if you're a woman, you have a STEM-related major, we have a program specific for our undergraduate intern opportunities, and then we have another specific to our undergraduate full-time opportunities. And all of this information, again, is on our university programs website. So just know we've got a lot of those application dates upcoming, and we'd love to see your resume come in the queue. Okay, so now we'll move it over to Q&A, and I might involve some of my counterparts here on the phone. as well. So Shaka, you might want to take a break from typing, and I'm going to call on you. One of the questions that I've seen is how can I stand out in the recruiting process? So Shaka's a recruiter on my team, so I'm going to see what he has to say about that question.
Hey, thanks, Leah, and thanks everyone for joining. Just to echo some of the comments earlier, this is an incredible audience today, and the panelists did a great job, so kudos to you all. I love this question. This is one of my favorite questions, and I think for many of our candidates in the process, one thing I cannot emphasize enough is really keying into the highlighted desired qualifications that each of our programs or full-time opportunities really focuses on in those postings. As recruiting consultants, we partner directly with the business to take great care to ensure that those postings really clearly reflect the success profile and the ideal candidate that we're looking for, and as best as you can, really focus on mirroring your authentic qualifications, your qualities, to that of the programs that you're interested in to show A, that you took the time to review the opportunity, and B, that you really know where your skills and your strengths lie and how those match the actual opportunity. At that point, it comes from speaking confidently and clearly about really where you see your future lying so that we as recruiting consultants can help find that right opportunity for you.
That's great. I've seen a number of questions come in around do we sponsor H-1B visas or are our programs open to international students? So I did want to be transparent that our programs do, for the most part, require permanent work authorization. There are a couple exceptions for our PhDs that we're recruiting for our quants program, but for both our internship and full-time programs at the undergraduate level, all of them do require permanent work authorization. We've gotten questions around geography and where our opportunities are located. So hopefully, in hearing from the panel, I'm sure you heard we have a couple people who are sitting in Charlotte. Kaylee's in St. Louis. Jasmine is in Chicago. Ari's in San Francisco. That's pretty representative of really the breadth of geographic opportunities we have. We have major hubs in Charlotte, Minneapolis, San Francisco, but we're also hiring, in other locations across the Midwest and the Southeast, Texas, on the West Coast, Des Moines, Phoenix, Arizona. So those are some of, I would say, probably kind of the top geographies that we hire for, but it's a nationwide platform. So I know for my team, we'll actually hire in close to 40 states, but certainly with some, certainly a lot more opportunities in our major hubs. Shaka, anything you would add to that geography question?
No, I think you covered it, Leah. I think as our business needs and just lines of business continue to evolve with our evolving leadership team, those geography points will only continue to evolve just to reflect the needs of our customers. So I would say keep an open mind when you're looking for opportunities, and we look forward to seeing you during the recruitment process.
Awesome. Someone asked about how would an internship work during the pandemic. So I don't know, Shonda, if you want to maybe speak to some of the things we did this year in terms of putting on a virtual internship program. Hopefully we won't have to do that in 2021, but it shows, I think, our
Sure.
flexibility and innovation.
Yep, absolutely. I'd be happy to speak to that. So we, of course, had anticipated a 10-week in-person internship initially, and our planning for programs usually begins a year to 2 years out. So you can imagine that when COVID unfolded unexpectedly, as I mentioned earlier, we did some fancy dancing to make changes. And no surprise to anybody that meant moving to virtual curriculums. So we had to revise the way that we shared curriculum virtually. That meant talking to some vendors and making revisions to that. We had to think through our onboarding process, shipping laptops directly to individuals in their homes, getting them the resources and tools that they have at their homes. I mentioned that we've got community service events going on today across our internship population, and we shipped the community service materials to their homes for those efforts too. So again, best practices, sharing best practices for working virtually was important. Modifying the way that we did networking opportunities, because we still wanted to maximize the opportunity for networking even while you're home. So that meant specializing events, speaker series, opportunities to find small groups, opportunities to engage by Skype or leveraging other resources that we have. And I think we're pleased with the outcome. We also shortened it. I think that's important to say. We had to modify from 10 weeks to 5 weeks. There were many reasons that was important to do, not the least of which was thinking through what was meaningful and worked well for purposes of our participants, given all the circumstances they've had personally. So we're pleased to say that we are in week 4. It's been a really easy is not the right word. Everybody will give me a punch in the mouth later if I say easy. It hasn't been an easy process, but it has been an effective one, and it has been a successful one. What we're finding is that feedback, early feedback from the experience that our participants is having is very solid. In fact, even year over year, increasing. So we're proud of that. It took a lot of hard work. And I'm grateful to our talent community, the individuals who are joining our programs, for also taking this ride with us. Anytime you have a large, meaningful change like that, you're going to have some bumps and wiggles, and you're going to have to figure some stuff out real time. And we did that, and people took the ride with us. They understood it. We linked arms, and together we, I think, created a great experience. So proud of that. And Leah makes the point that we hope we never have to do that again. That is true, but indeed we are prepared in the event that we do have to. There's the opportunity that for us to think about whether or not we're going to be in person next year, whether it'll be some kind of a hybrid, or whether we'll be fully virtual again. None of us know the future as it pertains to COVID, so we are experienced now and ready in the event that we have to do something unusual next year too.
That's great. That's great. I'll take a couple quick hits. So I've seen a couple people ask about opportunities for high school students. At this time, our internship programs are specific to college students, so we don't have anything formalized for high school students. There is an age requirement to work 18 or older, but there could be some branch opportunities or other direct hire or summer help type opportunities for college students, or for high school students if you're over 18. So just wanted to touch on that. I've seen a couple people ask, what are you looking for in a candidate, or what are the skills that you're looking for? And I would say, and certainly look for others if you all want to chime in. And it might be different program to program, but one of the things I continually see, regardless of the program, is they're looking for intellectual curiosity, problem solving, work ethic, communication skills. And a lot of this is really designed on potential, so leadership potential and initiative. Shonda, I don't know if there's other technical or soft skills that you would elaborate on.
It's funny. What I was thinking of actually wasn't necessarily a soft skill or a technical skill, and I was thinking about what you've said and what Shaka said earlier. I think it's a sense of being able to be yourself, comfortable in your own skin, being true to yourself, professional, of course, but being true to yourself. I think one of the things that you'll find at Wells Fargo is there is a sense of being able to be true to yourself. We embrace diversity. I am... we talked about good trouble earlier. As a leader, I have been known to get in good trouble on occasion by pushing back on things that I think are different than what I'd imagine. And I think that I have had leaders who have respected that and have the appropriate partnership and dialogue with me around those kinds of things. So bringing your real self, I think, is an important piece too, and I think something we're looking for. Authenticity is the way I put it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the panel touched on that too, whether it's through the recruiting process or as you join as an intern, being brave to ask questions and really being authentic And I think that's what the feedback we hear from candidates and interns. It's hard to really describe a culture. I think it's something that you experience. But I do think we have a very open culture in terms of a lot of managers and leaders that want to hear from young junior talent, and they want they really an open door type policy. So I think all of that really rings true to me as well. A couple other quick hits. Our internships paid. So that's an easy one. Yes, all of our internships are paid. And from a full-time perspective, we had a few questions around relocation and signing bonuses. It does vary a bit program to program, but for the most part, we do offer a stipend, whether it's a signing bonus or a relocation bonus, just to help with startup costs. So certainly as a college student, most of you would be relocating to a new geography, so we want to help with that. Dewey, any other questions you're seeing that you want us to touch upon?
Leah, I think you've covered off on a lot of really good ones here. So scholars, we've still got a few minutes left today, so we'll ask you to go ahead and just populate any of the additional ones in through that Q&A queue. Leah, I guess maybe there is one that I'll touch on here briefly. And I also want to give a quick update. We did push just a moment ago the survey link. So for all of the folks that are on, please take a moment and go ahead and complete that survey for us, and we'll launch that link again one more time in case you missed it, but I'm keeping score here. I've got probably 10 different links that have opened up on my computer. So, hey, Leah, every once in a while we have Wells Fargo colleagues from the firm that apply or are interested in internship opportunities. Are Wells Fargo team members eligible for those opportunities? If you can, just remind us of that, and then kind of what the process would be. Let's say, again, if you're working for the firm today, or if you're in an internship and you're interested in maybe another opportunity in another area. Would you touch on that one briefly, you or the team?
Yeah, absolutely. So from an internship perspective, you're eligible. We would advise you to look at the graduation date requirements. Sometimes we have part-time team members who apply. The only caveat is our internships are not benefits eligible. So we would just want you to come into that eyes wide open. Certainly don't want to interfere with any benefits that you might have. On a full-time basis, we do hire a number of team members as well. So we'd love to see your application come in our portal. Another question I saw, Dewey, that I wanted to touch on, we've had a number of people asking about opportunities in human resources. And of course, Shonda and Shaka and I and Dewey, we're all human resources colleagues and team members. Unfortunately, right now, we do not have an established program in human resources, but I can say that there's definitely been some ongoing dialogue about, the potential to build something. So that's one of those things where I would just encourage you to join our talent community because we are actively engaging with certain businesses around programs that we're looking to build. So there could be some additional opportunities coming down the pike in the spring. It may not be in human resources, but we are looking at building some more operations type opportunities. And I think it just speaks to just the breadth of work that we're doing across the company. I saw someone else ask, what if I'm not a business or finance major? How do I stand out? And I will say, again, our programs are open to all majors. There might be some that require more of a technical skill set, but we really do have the mentality that, really with the exception of our technology program, which is specifically looking for STEM majors, every other program is open on major. There are particular training components in place, and so we've had a number of successful team members who have maybe an English degree or a history degree, certainly an economics degree. So we're not just looking for business and finance majors. We're looking for people who have that initiative, strong communication skills, and intellectual curiosity. So there are a number of ways that you can still stand out in the recruiting process.
Leah, if I can jump in, this is Shonda. I'd agree with that, and I'm a proud mass communication major and can tell you that it hasn't held me back in the organization. I also want to mention, however, that there are a number of questions about opportunities for veterans. It sounds like we might have some folks on the line who have veterans expertise or are completing their degree while as a veteran. We would love to see talent from veterans communities. We're really proud of our existing veterans program. I know that we did push the link for our veterans program site earlier. I hope we'll have the opportunity to push that in. We'd encourage you to pursue opportunities and to share it accordingly with anybody you might know in the veteran community.
That's great. We've had a few questions around, are we recruiting on campus this year? And of course, this is a different year for us. So we will not physically be on campus this year. We might have specific opportunities posted through campus career centers, but we do not limit our applications to those types of universities or to target universities, which is why we wanted to showcase all of those application dates. We really do have a mindset that we can hire and attract talent from a number of different universities. I'm probably going to put Shirley on the spot. She might have to look up this number, but I think it was something like 200. We hired from 290 universities possibly last year. So, we certainly want to hear and want to see applications from all across the country, and we're not limited to one set of core schools. And I know that Dewey's going to speak to kind of an upcoming calendar, but this year one of the things that is unique is because we're not able to physically be on campus. We're doing a number of virtual events. So this is kind of the first of many down the road. So if you join our talent community, we'll make sure to get you additional information for whether it's a professional development type event or a recruiter coffee chat. We have a number of different events coming down the pike. So that, we can really make sure that we're opening up our opportunities across the country and not limiting it just to a specific set of students. So we're excited to hear more about you during our application process. Dewey, any other questions you think we need to highlight?
Leah, I think we've covered off on them in a really, really good way. I just want to double check with all of our panelists and presenters to make sure we were able to share your LinkedIn profiles earlier. I'm assuming you all are okay with having conversations with any of the folks that either are listening now live or joining the playback of this. I'm sure you guys are able to connect in with them. And Leah, maybe this speaks to what you said earlier. Maybe we're not on your campus, or maybe we're not doing the campus recruiting directly, but hey, we're an email away or a LinkedIn request away. So I'm assuming everybody's okay with us continuing to share things there?
Absolutely. Please connect with us on LinkedIn.
All right, we're seeing thumbs up in the chat and all kinds of good notes that are coming in here in those kinds of areas. So, well, let's do this. We've got a couple of minutes, team, as we close things out. I want to just thank all of our presenters for all of the wonderful information that each of you all shared. And I've got a kind of a final polling question here that we'll go through for today, and then we'll close out with some additional important reminders. And so this was close to our heart, team. So we want you to take a moment and just kind of read through it. Based on the information that you heard today and the things that you learned today, are you interested or do you plan to apply for an internship or a full-time role with Wells Fargo? So we've got that question there up on the screen. We'll just give it another moment here. And this is a place where you can hum in your favorite voice and in your mind your favorite game show song. We don't own the rights to any of those, so we can't play them. So we'll let that keep going. We're getting some fun comments. I love it. All right, and so let's wind this up here now. All right, and let's see where we are based upon the responses. Okay, so wow. Okay, looks like we're in pretty good shape here with the responses, Leah and Shonda and team. Pretty nice to pretty nice to see the responses here there. So great to know everyone is interested in applying. And of course, we've pushed it for you a couple of times, that university programs page. So go ahead and look there, reference those job ID numbers that we talked about a little earlier, and please, please, please enroll in the talent community. This is a way firsthand to get tons of really, really good information. So please make sure that you're enrolling in the talent community and getting connected in there. So, all right, we're going to cover off on our last couple of items here, and just some gentle reminders. Again, we referenced this a little bit earlier. The playback details will be available for this webinar, so give us about 72 hours or so. For anyone that's registered, you'll also get a follow-up email kind of reminding you how to access the playback of today's session. And what we also would ask you to do, go ahead and share the information. Again, there may be others that didn't join today. Maybe they're working at the internship or had other things going on and couldn't be on. So please pass this webinar on to anyone that's interested. Again, using that hashtag WFC Beyond College. Again, hashtag WFC Beyond College. Please note, you will need to utilize the password to be able to access that. So we have that information referenced here. Never say it officially, but you see it there on the screen. But please note, you will need to enter that password to be able to access the playback details. We referenced this a little bit earlier. I'm going to push one more time here the survey link that we have for you. So again, take a moment and complete that survey for us. Just a good chance for us to get a sense of how we did for today, and then also an opportunity for us to just improve our processes in given areas from there. So just thank you so much for doing that. We do realize that in some instances and on some platforms that link may be blocked. If that happens, don't worry about it. Just shoot us over an email with your comments or thoughts relative to what we shared for today. Or, again, hit us on LinkedIn, and then in turn we'll be happy to kind of continue the conversation from there. I do want to talk briefly about what's coming up, and we mentioned some of these events a little bit earlier. Our Wells Fargo Technology Black and Latinx Fireside Chat. We launched that link a couple of moments ago, so please go ahead and get registered if you find yourself eligible to participate in that one. In addition,
Billy,
we've got some other... Yeah, Leah, please, go for it.
Sorry to interrupt. And I did see a few questions around technology opportunities or opportunities for someone with an engineering background. And I would be remiss if I did not note that this is our fastest growing program. So we are looking for about 200 interns and 200 full-time associates in our technology space. So if you're an engineering major, I hope your ears just perked up a little bit. We'd love to see you apply, because we're looking to host a really large program. And I will say, you heard from Matt on the panel. Saul is a big proponent of early talent, and that's really where we're looking to grow our technology division. So we need innovative people like you. So I just wanted to put a nice plug in there for our technology division.
Hey, Leah, thanks for that plug. And when we think about technology, we know some of the metrics. 70 million customers, and 1 in 3 households having a relationship with us, and lots of folks are doing things through technology. And so we need to keep those things in mind. So please avail yourself to those areas and get connected in where you can. So, all right, so that's our first item to touch on. We've got some exciting webinars coming up. Next month, we're going to have a really robust discussion around salary versus value, determining your true worth and finding the right firm. So that's really an extension of what we talked about today. But let's fill the lines for that conversation as we talk about comparing job offers and East Coast versus West Coast, the ability to work remotely, or things in other areas that may be really, really helpful for you to take into consideration as you're looking at roles. In September, we're going to talk about those success strategies for managing student debt. This is another 90-minute session. We're going to break it down for you. We're going to talk to you about the processes and things that you need to be keeping in mind, better yet, as you're addressing any student debt that you have out there. In October, which is Get Smart About Credit Month, we'll spend some time talking about building responsible credit, why your credit matters. Come and join this session with us, and go ahead and submit questions to us in advance that you have relative to your personal credit and ways that we can kind of help you grow and develop. And then we'll wind up the year in November with a great discussion around digital natives and social media smarts. This is always one of my favorite conversations of the year. And so we'll talk about the importance of your LinkedIn profiles and how to manage your social media and lots of other things in those given areas. So be sure to join us for those pieces as well. We referenced a little bit earlier the survey, so you'll see that again, the link and the information there. Go ahead and just take a minute, fill that out for us. We definitely appreciate it. And then as we close things out, I'm going to push a couple of additional links here and just talk briefly about each of these. We've got a really great link that talks about our charitable giving. And so I want folks to reference this great story on our Wells Fargo Stories channel that talks about our financial support that's been provided here really throughout the 2019 timeframe. So you'll see some great metrics and some information in those areas. Also want to share a quick story about a wonderful mobile meals program that's been instituted in partnership with Feeding America. So please take a look at that information as it comes across for you. Again, I think as you're evaluating firms and you're looking at the place that you want to begin your career or continue your career, you want to make sure that you're finding a place where you fit in. And so we hope that what we've shared today gives you a representation of what our firm stands for, the leaders that are engaged. You know, this was real talk today. This was an unplugged conversation. There was not a script. There was no teleprompter kind of telling folks what to say around this. You heard firsthand from our great partners and from our great team members and colleagues about their experiences, and our hope is that that's going to aid you and assist you in the things that you're thinking about as well. Final two links for you. I do want to launch a link here around called College and COVID-19. This is just a resource that's been developed by leaders within our firm to give students resources during this particular time frame. So again, I think you're going to see some very, very good information here. Again, please feel free to cascade that out to others that may be interested in any of the things that we're sharing there. Of course, last but not least, got to put in a shameless plug here for our wonderful Beyond College webinar series. So you'll see that link and the information listed there as well. Please go ahead and register for our remaining webinars for the rest of the year. We'd love to have you connected into those as you all deem appropriate. All right, with that said, we'll give you that reminder again about our final, or our webinar, better yet, coming up for August, all around salary versus value, determining your true net worth. Obviously can't get off the phone today without thanking Jose and Leah and Shirley and Shaka and Shonda and Jasmine and Matt and Cheryl and Andrea in the background and Billy and Ari and of course Kaylee and yours truly here. Just really appreciative of having an opportunity to be on with you all today. I know that there are some follow-up questions that you have. Please feel free to contact us, connect with us online, and if there's any additional information that we can share with you, we'll be more than happy to do so. With that, on and then hand the reins over to Matthew to close us out from here. And Matthew and Kathy, thanks so much for your leadership today.
Thanks to all our participants for joining us today. Please take a moment to complete the survey. It should appear on your screen momentarily. We hope you found this webcast presentation informative. This concludes our webcast. You may now disconnect. Have a good day.